tense moment. Kamui Kobayashi before he waves goodbye to Sauber. Wasn't waiting for an invitation, just barged straight through on Fernando Alonso through the speed of the Largo and up into fourth place he goes.
I love it. As bad as I am, I've really enjoyed playing it, and I think the Classic Edition is superb for this year. I really do. To get the chance to race as Damon Hill from his 1996 Williams, I'm going to master that, and I'm going to tell him how good I am when I see him next to at a racetrack. I've got a couple of weeks. But also to race as Mansell or Schumacher or Hakkinen and Andretti, you know, classic names, classic cars. On classic circuits as well, you've got Brands Hatch, you've got Imola, you've got Jerez there. So for all of us F1 fans that bemoan the fact that we don't race at Imola anymore, or we don't race at Jerez, now we've actually got a chance to do it. And I think it's a really welcome addition, with, of course, Murray Walker to see it all up as well. And who better than Murray Walker to lend his voice to the Classic Park? It's very real, especially the classics. You've got cars that are totally inferior in terms of their power, but the driver can make a huge amount of difference as well. You've got turbo lag for the first time in this game, and it takes some doing. And you'll notice if you race as a Red Bull in one of the contemporary circuits, and then say race as a naturally aspirated Williams from 1980, the FW12, then you'll see the difference between the speeds of the cars. It's actually quite stark, and you do notice it, especially down the straights where you kind of come on, get a move on. But you know that was the racing at the time, so it's vastly different, different eras, and I just think it's really nice to compare. The thing about the F1 games, and 2013 being the latest generation of that, you've got different levels in which you could be a Formula One driver. You can have the career mode as a professional and a really talented gamer and turn off all the driving assists and do it properly, or you can be a total idiot like me and actually have all the assists in the world to help you get around the track, and then maybe just do a few challenges, just do a 3-lap race. There's different levels, so you find your level, you use the tutorials, you know, the young driver test to actually build up, you know, your understanding of the cars and your proficiency in the game, and then you can get better and better as the weeks and the months go on. You know, it's a game that you can start and play straight away, but actually once you grow into the game and once your skills grow in, there's a vast amount that will then take over your life. So if you've got time to do that, or if your kids have got time to do that, then at least you can play together as an F1 loving family. I just think there are a few that don't like what happened in Malaysia, don't like the fact that Sebastian's dominating the racing and have taken the podium celebrations as their opportunity to boo. I don't understand that personally, especially in Singapore. It was an amazing victory for Sebastian Vettel, you know, and the way he survived the safety car restart, the way that he built up the gap by sometimes over 2 seconds a lap to Nico Rosberg to allow that final pit stop and get out ahead was a supreme act of driver and car working together and team coming together with it. You know, what was there to boo about that? Just appreciate the fact that one guy is excelling at the moment. And if you don't like the fact, well, I hope your guy that you're cheering for catches up next year or starts to make an impression in the future. Don't just boo the guy who's out on top. If it goes back to Malaysia, possibly more understandable, because what happened in Malaysia didn't sit well with an awful lot of Formula One fans. He is a man who wants to be a champion, who wants to be winning races, and has decided that's the way to go and do it. That's Sebastian's choice to make. I personally don't think it was very fair on Mark if there was that understanding within the team, but also factor that Sebastian had saved a set of tyres the day before from qualifying and actually used less fuel by that stage in the race, was possibly doing a better job, and thought, well, why shouldn't I be able to go for the win? You know, it's a very complex issue, but if there was that understanding for the team, Sebastian certainly broke it. My son is 6, Daniel, and his first racing driver that he really got behind was Michael Schumacher. I don't know why, because Schumacher wasn't actually racing when he started to know who Schumacher was, but he got hold of the name, and then Michael came back and he used to cheer him on, and you know, there have been times when he was crying because Michael Schumacher had crashed out, but he loved Michael Schumacher, and he's not alone in that. You a very popular driver. Sebastian less so at the moment. Is that because we're not ready for another period of dominance quite so soon after the Schumacher years? I'm not quite sure. Does it all go back to Malaysia? I don't think it does, but there's a difference between the way Sebastian is perceived and the way Michael is perceived by a lot of Formula One fans. I think it's a shame, because I think Vettel is a superb driver, and when he stops driving will go down as one of the greats in the sport. You can compare the stats with Schumacher now. They've pretty much won the same amount of races from the same amount of starts at this stage in Sebastian's career. But he's actually won more titles than Michael had by this stage in his career. And who's to say that he won't go on and win more than 7 titles during the course of his lifetime?